Yeah, has it felt like a new era, from the Gustafsson fight
on? Honestly, not really. You know what I mean? It's like, fighting is fighting. Like a lot of these guys have to consider themselves the new era or the new generation of fighting. But when you get down to film study, I mean, there's only so many punches, kicks, and moves you can do. I'm fighting guys that appear to almost come out of nowhere. Guys that haven't always been on my radar. But as far as the actual tactics, there's nothing new era or next generation about it. Guys are getting a little bit younger. But outside of that, the moves are all the same.
Jon, do you like Reyes as an opponent and as a fighter, from what you've seen from him?
Yeah, I like him as an opponent. I really like the fact that he's undefeated. I think something special comes out of me when I fight guys who are undefeated. Ryan Bader was undefeated. He's now the double champ. That excited me. Daniel Cormier was undefeated and looked at as, close to invincible by many people. That excited me, and I cashed those checks. Glover Teixeira was on a 20-fight win streak when I met him. So it definitely brings out more when I'm fighting someone who's never tasted defeat before. I feel like Dominick has an attitude of being superior, and it's going to go great to give him his first taste of defeat.
And question for Dominick: is this a surreal moment for you? Here you are on the cusp of a UFC title fight with Jon Jones.
I think Jon said it best, man. Just a fight.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck. 247. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll hear next from Damon Martin, MMAfighting.com.
Hey guys, first question for Jon. Jon, we've had this conversation in the past. When you go out and beat guys dominantly, somehow there's still criticism that maybe you didn't finish them or you didn't finish them spectacularly enough. What do you think of the criticism when people say, you should have beaten Anthony Smith easier, or you should have not had a decision against Thiago Sanchez? Are we too critical, or do you feel like you maybe have set the bar so high for yourself that that's why the criticism comes?
Yeah, I think it's the bar that I've set for myself. But people forget the performances that Anthony Smith had leading into our fight. I mean, he was cracking people over the head with that overhand elbow from the clinch. Thiago Santos has knocked out so many people. I remember the lead up for the Thiago Santos fight and the Anthony Smith fight. And people were talking about how much better they looked at light heavyweight than they did at middleweight. But then when they get in there with me, and if I don't, absolutely demolish them, somehow it wasn't a worthy win. But to me, I remember the lead up, kind of similar to this situation. I see so many highlights of Dominick knocking people out. And then after the fight, people will be like, well, he was only 12-0. He's only had 6 fights in the UFC. So it's like people are, the guy gets all the praise before the fight, and then after the fight, it's like, well, he's still young in his career. So I'm just comfortable with how it all works out. I just know how trained that my opponents are going in there with. And so I'm always happy with the win.
Yeah. Have you been impressed by what you've seen out of Dominick, or should I say, is there anything that has impressed you about Dominick leading into this fight?
Yeah. I think he angles off really well when he's getting ready to shoot his left hand. That's something that takes years of experience to be able to do. And, he does a really good job of angling into his, slipping people's rights or countering people's rights and retaliating when he's on, left hook or straight left. I think that's really nice. I think his footwork's really nice. Outside of that, I've been in there against a lot of extraordinary fighters that build really, really awesome techniques. And I guess my favorite thing that Dominick does is, he works a good He can cut to his left really well before shooting his left. That's about the main thing I'm impressed with.
John, you said in another interview that you'd be really interested in the fight with Stipe Miocic. So obviously, we're not looking past Dominick Reyes in any way, shape, or form. But if you are successful this weekend, is a heavyweight title fight more motivating to you than saying, facing the next guy at light heavyweight? And obviously, I don't, it's not any offense to any of the guys that are out there, but is that a more motivating fight for you in terms of what would come next than just the next guy at 205?
No, it's all incredibly motivating. I'm very aware that, even for these guys to do good in there against me is a huge feat for them. And so, my job is just to go in there and try to dominate. You know what I mean? I know Corey Anderson's going to come with all of his heart. I know Johnny Walker's going to come with all of his heart. I'm starting to fight guys who, when they joined the UFC, I was the champion. So, since their very first practices, it's been about beating me, right? So, when you take that away from them, it means a lot. And so I get up for every fight, no matter. I think the only fight I really didn't get up for was the Alexander Gustafsson fight. I was young, and I was just too confident, too sure of myself, and I almost lost that fight. Since then, fight. I said in my Area of One interview, if you don't have great pride in every piece of the puzzle, you just can't have a masterpiece at the end. And that's how I genuinely feel. I know I have to take Dominick very seriously. I'm going to have to take Corey Anderson very seriously, and Johnny Walker very seriously, in order to go down one of the greatest of all time. Every game counts.
Last question for you, John. There are so many what ifs. When you mention heavyweight, everyone keeps talking to you about heavyweight because we've talked about it for so long and because you have conquered so many challenges at 205 pounds. But is there a good chance that is next? And I know not necessarily you're trying to take that fight away from Daniel Cormier, but obviously Stipe has said, I'd like to, his manager has said, maybe he'd like some new challenges, some different challenges. I don't know what that, read into that what you will, but is there a chance that could be your next fight later this year?
It's definitely a possibility. One thing I know for sure is I think going up to heavyweight would inspire me on a different level, just because there would be so many elements that I'm unfamiliar with. Gaining weight, staying lean and strong, mainly the weight gaining and understanding how I'm going to perform, how I'm going to move at the higher weight class. I've been going against heavyweights my whole life. My brother is one of the best heavyweights in New York State wrestling history. And I would wrestle him every day in high school. I've been getting my ass kicked by my older brother my whole life. And, I used to train with Travis Brown, Andre Arlovsky, so many great heavyweights for years. So I'm very comfortable, going against guys that are bigger and stronger than me. I guess all the questions I would have to answer is, how am I going to get, like I said, with the weight gain and all that type of stuff. There's just a lot of factors that I'm not familiar with that would probably motivate me to just push it hard and give it my best energy.
Thank you, John. And one question for Dominick. Dominick, leading into this fight, I know you saw the Twitter stuff earlier with John talking about the comments you made on Countdown about he's fought strikers, he's fought wrestlers, he's not fought an athlete. Can you explain to us, kind of in depth, what that means and why you feel you are a different caliber of athlete than some of the other guys he's fought in the past? When you look at or an Alexander Gustafsson or some of the other guys he's fought in his career, what separates you in terms of being an athlete?
Speaking on being a traditional athlete, playing baseball, playing football, basketball, track and field, those sports, if they're different than just being a martial artist, like just wrestling or karate or whatever you're doing, like it requires a different amount of just athleticism and overall like focus. It's different. It's just different, man. Yeah, man. There's really nothing to be said on that. It's just, if you don't really understand it, then you don't understand it. Like, that's all there is to it.
I definitely don't understand it. Yeah, I definitely don't understand it. DC's been wrestling since he was a little boy. We always been fighting since he was a little boy. I've been wrestling since I was a little boy. And And Dominick doesn't know what the 20-something out guys that I beat, what they grew up doing. So to assume because he plays sport or you play sports growing up that somehow no one else has.
It's not just playing sports. It's getting to a very high level of athletics. It's learning the intricacies of movements. It's really studying film before you actually study film. Like guys don't usually study film until they get in UFC and they don't really understand what it is. There's so many intricacies of being a high level athlete that most people do not understand. That's what I'm saying.
Gentlemen, we'll hear next from Nolan King, MMA Junkie.
Hey guys, appreciate the time today. My first question is for Jon. Jon, I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to see this, but shortly before we hopped on this call, Jeff Nowitzki sent out a tweet saying that you were subject to 22 no-notice drug tests in 2019. He said this was the most you've seen in his 20 years of experience. First off, what is it like to be tested that many times? And, what do you think that says about you?
Well, at one point, in 2019, I did, almost 30 drug tests with USADA alone. And then I also had 2 other drug testing agencies that were drug testing me. So only with USADA alone, I was one of the most heavily drug tested athletes in all sports. Then we include the numbers from the other agencies, Nevada State Athletic Commission and California Athletic Commission. I know for a fact that no one's been drug tested as much as me. And what that shows is that not only am I willing to, prove that this whole situation that I was in was it was never intentional. And I think it proves that I have absolutely nothing to hide. And it also proves my willingness to try to make things easier for fighters in the future. At the end of the day, because of me, fighters now there's an allowance on just how much you have in your body. That was something that I was able to help fight for through all my hours in the courtroom. And because of me, USADA doesn't go out and disclose people's tests unless they know exactly what's going on, which saves people's reputation. This whole situation damaged my reputation tremendously, and I feel like the only way I can make it right is by just being incredibly transparent with the fans, with the drug testers, and I tell you what, people with things to hide, they don't submit themselves to that level of drug testing. So I just feel like it'll help with my vindication over time.
You talk about the damage of your reputation. Do you think statements like the one that Jeff just made and like what you just said, do you feel like that is enough to silence these critics, or do you feel like no matter what you do, they'll always be there?
I think there's a difference between critics and just trolls. Some people, a lot of the guys that say dumb stuff online, they're usually the guys who have no profile picture, and they're just saying something to get a reaction. True critics, the guys who are actually reading the articles and reading exactly what happened and what went down, those are really the only people that I care to kind of see what's really going on. Like you guys, you reporters, the people that like really matter, and that's all I need. I think at the end of the day, the trolls will always be chirping, "Oh, you did steroids," or "He's a crackhead," all that type of stuff. They're always going to say what they got to say. But like I said, the people who actually sat down and read the articles and did their homework, they know exactly what went down, and I think that's all that's going to matter in the grand scheme of things. These are going to be the people writing the books and writing the stories of my story. So as long as they see the truth, that's all that matters.
Pertaining to the matchup with Dominick, initially on Twitter and through interviews, you didn't seem overly interested in this matchup. You said at one point that you didn't feel like there was really much to gain with the matchup against him. But listening to you here, you sound pretty excited about it. Obviously, you took the fight, so I guess has that changed? And if so, why?
Yeah, I initially I felt that it was a situation where I didn't have much to gain from it, but the more that I thought about it, the more that I think about it, huge fight for me. It's a great fight for me. It's not a huge fight, actually, but it's a great fight for me. Just because he's undefeated, and I think the toughest guy out there right now. You know, we have the choice of whether we're going to fight Corey Anderson or Dominick Reyes. You know, that was a conversation I had with the UFC, and I chose Dominick Reyes because, you know, me and my coaches watched Corey fight and we watched Dominick, and we saw that Dominick was finishing people. You know, I like a guy like Corey Anderson who can grind out a 25-minute fight. You know, match me in cardio, but Corey Anderson doesn't really finish people like that. You know, Dominick can finish people, which is way more of a challenge. It's way more scary of a fight, and that's exactly why we did it. So I love this fight. I think I got a great challenger, and I'm taking him serious, and I think I'm going to do what I've always done. Figure out a way to get it done.
And for Dominick, 32 months ago yesterday, you were on getting a highlight reel knockout in LFA. You were on SportsCenter. You weren't even in the UFC yet, though. You know, can you even put into words to describe what of a whirlwind this last, 2+ years has been for you?
I wouldn't say it's like a whirlwind. I mean, I'm living every day, accordingly. Like, whatever happens on a daily basis, I react to it how it goes. I mean, I don't really look back very often on when it all started and things like that. But yeah, it did happen fast, and I think that's a testament to my hard work and attention to detail.
The last thing for me, there's a lot of questions about Jon's future. You hear him on the call, you see them online. Will he fight Stipe? Who will he fight next? This idea of being overlooked, does that bother you at all, or do you think it just adds to the underdog story?
I mean, it's to be expected. I'm fighting Jon Jones. He is who he is, and he's undefeated. Minus with technical loss or whatever. But he's a great champion, man. If I was not the underdog, that would be pretty crazy. Like that would be odd. So, I mean, it's expected. It is what it is. Everything is going pretty much exactly how it should be at this time. So, yeah.
Appreciate the time, guys. Thanks.
We'll hear next from Andrew Whitelaw with Fox Sports Asia.
Hi guys, Jon, you fought twice in 2019. You're fighting nice and early this year.
Andrew, your line is open if you still have a question for us.
Hi guys, Jon, you fought twice in 2019. You're fighting nice and early in 2020. So, what's most important for you, and what are your priorities for this year? What do you want to get done?
My goal is to fight 3 times this year. My goal is to win this fight on Saturday, fight maybe overseas in the middle of the year, and then end the year in Las Vegas. One of those big cards at the very end of the year. That's my goal, is to fight 3 times this year.
Fighting overseas, is there anywhere that particularly interests you?
I wouldn't mind fighting in Australia. I think that'd be pretty cool.
And that would potentially be the Adesanya fight?
No, not necessarily. I've been over to Australia, and the fans are so receiving, so loving, and I realized that I had a very strong fan base over there. And I think it'd just be great to enhance my brand by fighting in front of a different audience for one. So it's just an idea, but I'd love to do it.
For the longest time, the assumption was the best gyms and the best camps were in the US, but with champions like Valentina training out of Thailand, increasing number of fighters going out there, and Coach of the Year coming out of New Zealand, is there still that idea that the US has the best gyms, and do they need to step their game up a bit? How do you feel about that?
I think mixed martial arts in the United States is doing just fine. I think we're doing just fine. I think the majority of the champions are American, and the majority of the top 5 are all Americans in every weight class, I would imagine. And I think we're doing just fine. I am proud of the other countries for starting to make their presence be known. But I think mixed martial arts for a very long time is going to be the hotbed of MMA. At the same time, I hope people from other countries are inspired to train their athletes to believe in themselves the highest they can, and to show that, guys like McGregor and Valentina, they can do it. You can do it too. So be inspired, man. Where you're from don't really matter. It's about the heart that you have, the team that you surround yourself with, and that's what it is. At the end of the day, Jackson's mixed martial arts. We've held down the light heavyweight division for over a decade, so now I'll always, stand up for Albuquerque, New Mexico, and what we're able to produce out there. A high altitude training is something else.
Thank you.
We'll hear next from Brad Lewis with News Hub.
G'day guys, thanks for the opportunity. John, first question for you. Do you think that, given the fact that this is what your 15th main event UFC fight, Dominick sort of first in terms of a main pay-per-view, and this has been the case for you for the last sort of 4 or 5 fights, that this gives you an info in terms of understanding how the week flows with the media requirements and the open workout and all that sort of stuff. Do you think this gives you sort of like a mental edge over your opponents?
I think 1,000%. I think 1,000% it's an edge over my opponent. My opponent can say that he's comfortable and he's not nervous and try to make people believe whatever. But I know deep down inside he has to be. Absolutely has to be. Not only is he fighting the main event, he's getting more attention than he ever has before, and more media obligation than he ever had before. Everybody is rooting for him back at home. It causes tons of pressure. But I started doing this when I was a kid. I've been doing this since I was 20 years old. So for me, it truly is another day at the office. I don't believe any fight is a big fight. It's just another fight. But my opponent is a very big fight. They probably hire more people than they've ever hired. They seek more help from people than they probably never asked for help for before. They're getting motivated and pushed by so many people that are eating healthier than they've ever ate before. I mean, every guy I've ever been against is in a title fight and believes that he had the best training camp of his life. That's what I'm used to. But yeah, this is 100% what I do. I have been doing it for a long time. And I respect Dominick very much and his team very much. But yeah, none of this is new to me. The nerves, all this stuff is exactly what I live for. I believe I was born to do it. I believe my little brother was born to be a great football player. Older brother was born to be a great football player. I believe that I was born to be one of God's builders in martial arts cage.
And Dominick, question for you, just on that, like, have you found the lead up to this fight any different? And I know it's early in fight week, so you've probably still got a lot of requirements to get through, but, have you sort of prepared for that in any way, and how can you prepare for that sort of different profile throughout fight week?
Just take every day as it comes, man. I mean, you could worry about it and all those things, but one thing at a time, man. One step at a time. I used to say when I was in college, when the road ahead seems daunting, take a breath and focus on the next step. One thing at a time. And right now, you're on this call.
And John, final question for you. Thank you guys for your time. Israel Adesanya is going to be cage-side this weekend. I know that you guys don't have a lot of respect for each other. I'm sure you respect each other's fighting abilities, but is that a fight that, whenever it happens, if it does happen, is that a fight that excites you in terms of the hype behind Israel and his history as a kickboxer? I know that you like to beat guys where they're at their best. Is that a fight that excites you potentially down the road, regardless of what happens this weekend?
Yeah, at the end of the day, this isn't K1. This isn't whatever league he used to fight in. I've watched him catch an overhand right, and literally I've watched him with his legs stiff. You know what I mean? His swagger is exciting to the fans, but I know 1,000 people like him. I grew up with people like him. He doesn't impress me the way he impressed everyone else. He's scared, man. That's all it is. When he says you got to respect the game or the game will humble you, he's talking about not fighting me now or me beating his ass. So he's scared, man. And when you let a fighter like me know that you're not prepared to fight today and you wish you had another year to prepare and all that shit, it lets you know your mental state. And that's all I need to know. So if he feels like he's not quite up for the challenge now, and he honestly thinks that I'm going to be somehow a weaker version of myself next year, he's sadly mistaken. I'm figuring out training camps and figuring out different ways of healing and recovery and all these things. My teammates are getting stronger. My coaches, I'm only a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. If he thinks I'm getting slower and weaker, he's sadly mistaken. So he's scared today. He's made that very clear to the public. And nothing's going to change next year.
All right, guys, thanks so much for your time and enjoy fight weekend. Have a good fight on the weekend.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
We'll hear now from Stephen Morocco with MMAfighting.com.
Hey, Dominick, just wanted to make a quick check on the whole situation with the Kobe Bryant jersey. Any word on whether you'll be able to wear that? Nothing as of now. So we'll see. Have they told you they're open to it? Any sort of feedback from them? Nope. Not really a huge focus of mine, and I put it out there. If they come back with positive news, then cool, but if not, then not. Gotcha. And then, John, have you made any specific requests on who's going to referee the fight?
No, I have not. But I've had some shitty situations happen in there. I felt like I've had guys that were very obviously not on my side in that ring. And I'm not going to say their names because I don't want to give them attention. But even with that happening, I still found a way to not only win those two fights, but finish those fights. It's pretty public that John McCarthy, I felt like his energy was way off when I fought Victor Belfort, and I found a way to finish the fight. I also thought the energy coming from, I will say it, man, I felt like the energy coming in that second Alexander Gustafsson fight, I felt like that referee was sending me some funny-ass energy backstage and in the cage. And I finished the Gustafsson fight, too. So, at the end of the day, I feel like if it's in God's plans for me to do what I've been doing, it won't matter. It won't matter which coaches I have, which coaches Dominick has, who's the referee. None of that stuff matters, man. God's will is God's will. And so it won't matter who's the referee.
Have you heard any of his comments about thigh pokes and sort of the people needing to make a change to sort of regulators needing to make a change to change a culture of cheating? Have you heard any of those comments? And if so, what do you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, in my last Gustafsson fight, that referee kept on saying, "Watch your fingers, John. Watch your fingers, John." Like, literally, my fingers weren't even out half the time, and he kept yelling that to me, which was a major distraction. And I know Dominick has a problem with the finger stuff too, and I know he's talking to the referee before the fight. None of that stuff's gonna matter, dude. None of that stuff's gonna matter. I feel like the game made a rule that was single-handedly based around me, and I won't let that type of stuff matter.
Have you changed your style at all?
I fight how I fight. I grab for hands a lot, and over the years, I've coincidentally landed a few eye pokes. But if you guys think that I train poking people in the eyes, I mean, think about how ridiculous that is. We fight with our fingers open, and I can be a very reachy fighter sometimes, and it happens. But no, I haven't changed anything about my training style. I train very hard, and like I said, I don't train to poke people in the eyes. So, but it's good when people are thinking on that type of stuff, though. That's good for me. People are thinking on getting poked and getting a free point. All that type of stuff is good for me. I don't think about that type of stuff.